Welcome to BigBossBattle.com. My name is Removable Sanity, and today we are looking at Observer from developer Bloober Team, and this is for the Xbox One. So what is Observer? This is a first-person detective story set in a cyberpunk world of the year 2084. You play as a detective called Daniel Lasky, played by Blade Runner's very own Rutger Hauer. The detective can use his body tech to violently jack into the minds and memories of people, alive and dead, to track clues and solve crimes, hence his official job title, Observer. So what is the premise of the game? Well, in the middle of a conversation with your boss, you get hacked by your very own long-lost son, who's in a bit of trouble. He basically asks you to come and find him and help him out. Anyway, the call cuts short before he can finally actually work out what's going on, and so, like any good dad, you fly over to where his last location is, or his last vid call is, and try and find him. And this leads me on to the gameplay. The game centres around a particular slum in the worst part of Krakow. Now, the citizens are divided into classes, and this slum is the lowest class, Class C. A lot of people here are frightened and are hiding in rancid apartments, with their only escape from this hell is drugs, chemical or technological. The game itself is essentially a detective story told in first person. However, don't let that put you off. This game is more than the sum of its parts. Yes, you'll spend most of your time talking to residents, examining crime scenes and deciphering clues, and that will make up the majority of the gameplay. However, there's a lot of twisted stories and people here that will keep you continuously engaged. The puzzles themselves are quite intricate, and the consistent drug taking for you to actually function is in the background, which also brings a little bit of tension to the overall story. Throughout the game, you'll also be able to use Lasky's ability of hacking into the minds of alive and dead people. Now, this is probably the most psychedelic parts and sections of the game. Once you do hack into these people, you'll be presented with a terrifying nightmare of worlds that really does push you mentally, and in terms of design is a crazy genius. I can't explain it. It is just physically and visually a treat for the brain, which will leave you pretty much mentally exhausted once you have completed that section, but it will only further compel you to move forward through the story to see and find out what truly is going on. The game's world and layout design has been done to perfection. This has been done as a homage to Blade Runner, and you can tell the devs are exactly on the page here. This is the closest I will ever find so far in terms of walking with Decker in Blade Runner. It is perfect. It encompasses the cyberpunk world perfectly. The level design, the actual characters, the modelling, the sound has been done exceptionally well. You will want to continue to explore. The gameplay doesn't just provide you with the underlying story, it provides you with side missions, collectibles and little tidbits that you'll want to keep pushing through, and it will give you a replayability. Now, the controls themselves are exceptionally simple, and though those who've ever played Layers of Fear, you'll pretty much gauge what you can do here. It's very pretty much one button does this, one button does that. The actual joysticks will open and close doors, and this works well. It gives you a feeling that you are part and parcel of the world that you are encompass. And this leads me on to the graphics of the game. This is a beautiful game that has thoroughly been thought out by the devs. This is from the outside of the slum, where the beautiful neon cyberpunk lighting which shines across and dimly illuminates the slums that it surrounds, which harps back to the particular Chinese scene in Blade Runner, which is a visual treat in itself, to the rancid, disgusting, sweat-soaked apartments which you visit to try and find out what's going on, to the psychedelic, horrific worlds when you mind jack a particular person. Each of these have been done beautifully, and they provide a almost unheard of horror in the background. It's like a tension that's always being ramped up just by your visual eyes itself. Everything is beautifully done but carefully tweaked to push your senses to the very peak. This is something that's quite unusual for a visual game, especially in terms of a first person. Yes, most of it looks pretty, but most of the time it looks too pretty or it looks too dark. They have done it to a T here. They know where to kind of push your senses and when to kind of pull back and let your senses relax a little. The actual visual displays of when you're detectiving is great as well. You'll get two heads-up display, one which is infrared, which helps you determine the actual body and lacerations on a body. Then you'll get a kind of green one which will give you a technical view overview. This will help you try and work out what body parts or technological aspects to it. There's also a night vision mode which pays homage to Outlast. Everything here is a visual treat, and it only serves to better improve the game as we go forth. So what about the sound? Well, this wouldn't be an immersive game if the sound was cheaped on either. This is again being done fantastically. The hallways creak as you stalk from door to door, listening to bizarre noises rising from each apartment. The crackle of the speakers as you try and talk to some of them through the actual doors. Broken screens blasting static at you at various points because some are broken and don't actually work. The rainstorms that envelop the outside but echo through certain broken windows, mixed with some kind of really truly disturbing sounds from the basement. I'm not going to tell you too much, but it is pretty freaky. The game's sound is beautiful. I would recommend, however, putting some headsets on this, because this is where it seems to truly come alive. It really adds to the atmosphere, but I will say it is absolutely beautiful. There is also a slight industrial music in the background. This is on and off throughout the game. To be honest with you, it's the little sounds and what you don't hear which ramps up the tension and really helps push this game into almost a horror detective story. The tension that it helps build up here really does ramp up and push your senses to another level. We can't talk about the sound without going through the voice work, and of course the absolute star of the game is Rutger Hauer. His voice works perfectly for this game, and it is a joy to listen to. However, saying that, we must pay homage to his supporting cast, and that is of those of the tenants. Those tenants who you have in-depth conversations to, and which is you can actually choose your own particular path on what you want to talk about, is done exceptionally well. The voices and stories that you hear from them feel genuine, and this is through their voice talents alone. You don't always see the actual person you're talking to, so you only can gauge it from what you hear. And this is coming from, like, crappy parents yelling at their kids whilst talking to you through a little grainy camera mounted on the door, to a guy who's trying to turn himself into a complete robot and is losing his mind at the same time. These all feel genuine, and we have to say that the supporting cast has exceptionally well done here. This is a visual treat for your ears. I know that doesn't make sense, but it is, trust me. You will love listening to these stories, and this is going to help you explore even more. So, what do we here at Big Boss Battle think of Observer? Well, I can tell you personally, this is one of my top games, and it's a wholeheartedly recommendation. This is a game that if you're a cyberpunk fan, you will love. If you're a detective fan, you will love. If you are a horror survival fan, you will love. This is a fantastic game, and one that I do recommend you put in your collection, and this is for the following reasons. The game's mind-hacking ability is probably some of the best horror and mentally stressful sections I have ever seen in a game. The backdrop of this world is fantastic, and the beautiful art direction conveying a rich cyberpunk world is 100% spot on. There's also this tension throughout the game which really does just want to make you push forward and see what happens at the end. There is also quite a bit of replayability here. There is enough tokens and collectibles for you to go back and research. You are going to spend quite a bit of time going through every apartment, talking to every single person to find out their individual stories, find out their history, their clues of why they're, what they've heard. It is just going to give you some serious time of what you wish to do. For the amount of time that you'll be spending this, the game's price is pretty reasonable as well. Currently it's on the Xbox One store at £24 or about $30. This is a recommendation wholeheartedly, and it's one that I think is going to be fantastic for you, for those who want something to tie them over between the AAA games. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this review. Please do tell us what you think of it and give us your thoughts on the matter. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, have a great time gaming, and I'll see you again soon.